and bowed his head towards the earth and worshipped. He'd seen a bigger picture now of God than he'd ever seen before. Even though he'd been in the mountain at least 3 or 4 times, visiting with God and God sharing his laws and his principles. Even so, there was more to learn, more to grow in, and to be worship God about. We're in Exodus 34, verses 9. And he said, "If I now found grace in your sight, O Lord, let my Lord pray, go among us, even though we are stiff-necked people, and pardon our iniquities and our sins, and take us as your inheritance." I don't know if you remember when you read in verse 33 where God says, "Get up out of here, go into the land. I'll clear the way for you, but I'm not going with you." And I puzzled. This is in chapter 33, verse 3. And the early part of this week, I said, what are you getting at here? And I think what God was trying to do was get them to understand that without Him, all their journey, going to the promised land without God as their center was going to be in vain. And what their response was, when the people heard this bad news, they mourned. No one put on their ornaments or the jewelry. That's an interesting narrative there, that they realized without God in their presence, without God leading the way, their journey would be in vain ultimately. But here we are in 34, verses 9, and it says, "Let the Lord, I pray, go amongst us, even though we're stiff-necked, and pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us as an inheritance." We're all in that situation. None of us are perfect, but we want God. If God is in our midst, we can grow and learn more of Him. Just as Moses, even this great connection he had with God, he still wanted to know more. He still wanted to come closer to his makers, you might say. And God wanted to do the same thing. And ultimately, in chapter 40, He sets up the tabernacle with all the elements of salvation in it. Quickly to wrap up, on Thursday, there's a quote, there's 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18, which is quite instructive as far as knowing God and becoming. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, 18. Get there eventually. It's slow. 2 Corinthians chapter 3. You there, Ernie?
Let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you seems to be wise in this age, let him become a fool, that he may become wise.
I think are you in 3:18?
So 3:18 says, "But we all, with open face, beholding as in a glass of glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image